All right, and we are on the record.
This is Cheryl Laurel with TaxNet. It is Tuesday, June 15th, 2004, and the time is now 9:37. We are located in a conference room at the law offices of Mandel and Ginsberg, 306 East Wilson Street in Madison, Wisconsin. This case is captioned Wyndham Hills versus Capugi. The case number is 03CV2763. The venue is Circuit Court in Dane County. This is a deposition of Stephen Yunker, and I will now swear you in, Mr. Yunker. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Attorneys, please audibly state your appearance for the record.
Michael Lawton, Lathrop and Clark, appearing for the plaintiff.
David Mandel, appearing for the defendants.
You may proceed.
State your name for the record, please.
My name is Stephen Yunker.
And what is your involvement with Wyndham Hills?
Myself and my brother Mike handle the architectural control for Wyndham Hills and West Wind subdivision.
Okay, and are these fairly close in distance to each other?
They're about a mile apart.
And they have similar building restrictions and
They are similar, except for the size of the buildings in West Wind are a higher requirement, and there is a higher landscaping requirement as well. Other than that, they're very similar.
Okay. And how many owners at Wyndham Hills have play sets in their yards?
You're asking me for a number that I can't give you. There's a fair amount of them. I really couldn't speculate on a number though.
How many of them got advance permission from the architectural committee or the owners to build it?
Well, a number of people actually call me and ask me if they can have permission for play sets, and I tell them as long as they're a freestanding play section that is not enclosed on the outside anywhere, we would consider it a play set.
Can you answer my question?
I thought I just did.
No.
I'm
How
sorry.
many have actually called and got permission?
How many?
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna ask me to give you a number that I can't necessarily prove. If you want me to do that.
Give me your best.
Well, in Wyndham Hills, I'd probably say about 10 people have called me and asked me if that was all right, and I just told them to go ahead and do it. And if they thought it was a structure, that they should submit it for approval.
Do you know any of their names?
No, I don't. A lot of people that call, including the complaint, do not leave their names. They call and ask a question, and I answer it. If they did give me their names, I probably don't remember it.
So there's no way for me to go back and question anyone?
No, there's
whether or
not.
They were told it had to be freestanding or not?
No, there's not. And quite frankly, that question has never come up, whether it's freestanding or not.
So you just added that today?
Well, I guess I added after hearing you depose my father, so I apologize if I interjected anything.
Okay. In fact, you've never told anyone it had to be freestanding. You just said play structures are okay.
I said play structures that are not enclosed are okay.
And when you say enclosed, what do you mean by enclosed?
Well, I do not consider the nylon roof over the top of the slide to be a roof, and people have asked me that specific question. So I guess unless you want to phrase the question a different way, that's the way I'm going to answer it.
So as long as it has a nylon roof, it's not enclosed? Is that what you're saying?
Well, a nylon roof isn't a permanent roof, and for example, well, actually, I don't really know what examples I can give you, but it doesn't appear to be a roof. It looks like a little nylon, little tarp.
If some of them have roofs that are wooden, would they be prohibited from being present then?
Possibly.
You don't know, or?
Well, we look at some of these things on a case-by-case basis. If it has the appearance of an outbuilding and we get complaints from a neighbor, we will respond to it.
Is that the only reason that you've responded to the Capuzis? Because you had a complaint from a neighbor?
Well, not just a complaint from them, but a call from the Capugis asking for permission after they had talked to the building inspector.
That was the first time they talked to you about it?
Well, I was kind of handed this. My younger brother was out of town, and he goes, these people called me and asked me that they're putting up an outbuilding. One of the neighbors is called. I have a hard time believing that you spoke to that neighbor, but because I know they didn't sign any petition that was distributed. But I'm sorry, I'm getting lost here. You're gonna have to make sure I'm answering the question that you're asking. Can you rephrase it, please? It's a long-winded answer, and I guess I want to make sure I'm answering your question correctly, sir.
Yeah, you lost me too.
I always start over and ask a new question.
That's what we'll do.
Well, I'd be happy to answer the question. I apologize.
You would agree that a lot of freestanding play structures have attached wooden roofs to them, correct?
No, I can't necessarily agree with that because I'd have to see that firsthand.
Okay, well, have you seen the ones for sale at Sam's?
Actually, I haven't.
Have you seen the ones for sale at Menards?
No,
Have you seen the ones that sell at Farm and Fleet?
no.
If I were to tell you that they're all similar to the ones on this page with wooden roofs, then you wouldn't be able to dispute that, would you?
I haven't seen any of those in our subdivision. If I have seen any, I haven't noticed that it had a wooden roof.
If it had a wooden roof, would it be permitted?
Probably not, but the first person I would ask is the developer to see if it's okay. 'Cause-
Meaning your dad?
exactly. That's pretty easy, huh? That's an easy one.
Have you told anybody at Wyndham Hills that they've had to remove any structures from their backyard other than the capuchins?
No, but I have denied requests for buildings.
Have property values increased in Wyndham Hills in the last year?
Well, I would have to speculate that they have, unless I'm looking at actual market numbers and sales. I can't give you anything that's verifiable though.
So you don't know if they have, but you would
In my
speculate.
professional opinion, based on the cost of construction and the things like that, sure, I'm sure houses have gone up in value in Wyndham Hills.
Are you aware of any neighbors of the Capuchis whose properties did not go up in value commensurate with other properties in the Wyndham Hills
Well,
community?
the neighbors that we've heard complain have not planned to sell, so we really haven't tested the market to know whether or not they've appreciated or not appreciated in value.
So your answer is no?
My answer is no.
And give me the names of the people who have complained.
The only name I have is a name I can't remember. I know we're willing to provide it because the guy wants to get involved, because he made a comment that he was threatened. And that's what my dad was reiterating earlier.
Can you
So.
give me the name of the person?
No, I can't, but I can provide it for you. I know Mike has it, the other guy that's not here.
So you don't know anyone who's actually complained?
Well, as I said, you're asking a question that when we get complaints as a subdivision, a lot of times people do not leave their name and number. They just say Larry here is doing something wrong, or whoever it is. To give you an example, I'm using Larry as a name, but the fact of the matter is we don't always get names of complaints, and that's just the way it is.
So you don't believe it's the neighbor with the wooden fence next door to the Capuchis?
You're asking me to speculate. I can't do that.
I'm not asking, I'm asking you whether.
You're asking whether I believe
Have
something.
you talked to those people, the neighbors of the Capucci who built?
I
the
am not
wooden
aware of.
fence?
I'm not aware who called me, and who called Mike.
Can you tell me how many people have specifically complained about the Capuchis? Number one.
I can only recite what my brother has told me,
And
Michael, and
what
he has
has
said
Michael told you?
at least 2 people, and there's one person that definitely wants to be involved because he was threatened.
And you don't know any of their names?
No, I don't, but we will provide those. We'd be happy to.
Have you gotten any written complaints?
No,
You don't know of anyone who was threatened by the Capuchis, do you?
I do not personally know them, but as I said, we will be providing that information.
Do you know that Kim Capucci, who's about 5'2", was the one who circulated this petition to the neighbors?
No, that's really irrelevant.
Or do you think she's threatening?
I can't speculate on that. You're asking me to see if I think this woman's a nice person or not. Maybe she is, maybe she's not.
Can you tell me in your own words what you find offensive about the Capucci's playset?
Well, it appears to be a building. When they told me they were building it, they said it didn't have a complete roof, but you could stand up there to get at the slide. So when they asked me to go out and look at it, I told them it looked like a roof. You know, I had a conversation on the phone with them previous to that, and they had asked me if we'd allow it, and I said no, but I will come out and look at it. I came out and looked at it, told them under no circumstances would we allow that building to go, and I imagine that's why the building inspector told them to get our permission.
You don't know that the in fact, the building inspector told them they didn't need permission, that it's not a building and it's fine. I just
Well, the
read the
Capuchis
letter
told
to
me
you.
that, and I'd be willing to testify to that fact, because they
Well,
called me and told me that this inspector told them to call me. That's why they called me.
Did not the inspector say that it's not a building?
He said he didn't believe it was an outbuilding according to the Capuchis. But as I said, that definition doesn't have anything to do with our covenants, sir.
You wanna show them the
The
letter?
city of Sun Prairie considers it a play structure, similar to swing sets.
I am aware of that, and I don't agree with it. So I can't dispute that letter or the facts in it.
But you're willing to sit here and claim that they told you something different than what they put into writing?
No. They told me that the city did not consider this an outbuilding, but that it was the city's opinion they needed to get our permission to go forward on it. Fact is, they already had the building built at that point. So,
Who told you that the city told them they needed to get your permission?
I would have to say, you're gonna have to give me her name, but it's Mrs. Capucci, told me that.
So you're saying Mrs. Capucci told you?
And I said, it's reflecting what apparently the gist of that letter is that they don't consider it an outbuilding. But
That's
that's
what-
irrelevant to me, as a architectural control guy.
Are you aware that the majority of homeowners in the neighborhood actually like the structure?
Well, I saw a list you had with like 6 or 8 names. There's probably 40 or 50 neighbors adjacent to that house, so I don't think that's an adequate reflection of what the neighbors think, sir.
You're saying there's 40 houses adjacent to one house?
Yeah, look at that strip of land there. There's at least 40 lots there, and there's probably 25 or 30 houses that all look in and can see that. It's not just a few neighbors that are next to it. So if it's not the neighbors, if you don't have a list of those people, you're gonna be pretty surprised when we produce those people.
I will be, because the word adjacent means next to, and there's no
Well-
way there's 40
Well-
buildings next to.
Well, adjacent is
That's not a
if
question.
you're asking me to define
Just
adjacent.
wait, hold it. Wait till he asks a question. That is a speech or statement that is
Air
okay.
out before you get in there.
Showing you this
You're
part
you saying,
photo of
Because
the
I'm sleepy?
not
completed
sleepy, you're not
play
sleeping at
structure,
all.
both interior and
Oh
exterior.
no, I was sleeping a
That
lot. I
similar
mean, I was
to
getting
the-
sleepy and
The way it looked when you visited.
Well, that appears to be roofing right there. That's treated wood. And they're walking on it, so it has some sort of roof since they can sit outside out from under the rain. That appears to be a roof to me, even if it's open in the middle.
Would you specify which of those pictures you?
Yeah, I guess, I'm looking at this picture right here, sir, and it looks like it's a
What?
roof, but it has a hole in the middle of it.
Bring your cup of coffee outside and sit
For-
down.
for a
and
ladder to
drink
come up.
cool.
You're saying there's a ceiling to the
Huh?
first floor that has an opening for a ladder to come up?
I'm just telling you, according to the picture you're showing me, that's what it looks like to me.
You're saying this maybe 2 to 3 foot parapet that goes around, creates a roof on the building? Because somebody can lean against the wall when it's
Well, they
raining?
can stand on it, they can sit underneath inside and stay out of the rain. There's apparently framing in here so they can sit inside. It looks like you even insulate those walls if you wanted to. Looks like an outbuilding to me.
I
That's
just
why
wanna
we set it
know,
up.
I just wanna know if you're telling me as you sit here today that
Yes.
this is a roof?
In my opinion, it's a roof with a stair coming out of the top of it.
Alright, just wanna know. what you're
I've seen
saying.
those on porches and decks,
Let me take a look at the
Sure.
picture there.
and they did tell me about that.
As you sit here today, you don't know how many other play structures have wooden roofs on them in the complex?
No, I don't. I'd have to go out and do a visual verification of that.
yeah,
Did any of the other play structures that do have wooden roofs get permission in advance
What?
to build the structure?
I'm not aware of that. Me and Mike both approve plans, and sometimes he approves stuff that I'm not aware of.
You're not aware of anyone being told they couldn't put up a play structure with a wooden roof on it, are you?
I'm only aware of the people that I've told.
I'm gonna show you a photograph from, West Wind. Has this structure been approved to your knowledge?
I can't tell that this is in Westwind?
Yeah.
If that's gone in, it's against the covenants. We are not aware of it, and we will be enforcing it.
You will,
That's correct.
even though it's been there for years.
Well, we can't always see everything from the street. If no one complains, sometimes we don't find out about stuff. In this
Really?
case, we found out about it.
Mr. Mandel, can you represent when that picture was taken, just for the record, do you know?
I believe it was taken in the last 5 months.
It's just for your information, we don't control the covenants there anymore, so it would depend on when it was
Oh.
erected.
If that's in Westwind, then, yeah, we've been
Westwind.
out of that association for a couple of years now, so they very well may have been erected with the permission of that association. Or not.
You're not aware that it's hurting their property values there, are you?
No, and as I said, an association can make its own rules once we're not involved, so it's kind of irrelevant here.
I'm gonna show you a photograph of a place set in Wyndham Hills. It has a wooden roof. You're saying that's acceptable?
Well, how would you like me to answer that question? Would you like me to ask if it's acceptable compared to the building that we're disputing, or is it acceptable just in general?
I asked if it's acceptable in general. I already know you're not gonna change your mind and say that Capucci's is acceptable.
Well, the reason why this would be acceptable, even though it has a roof, is that you can see through it. It is not a structure that is closed up and takes up a lot of physical dimension. And even though it has a roof, it is obviously a play structure.
It has a slide.
Well, you know, I could take a shed and put a slide off the side of it, so I think that's irrelevant also.
I just asked you.
This is an obvious play. This is an
slide.
obvious play set. It would look like to anybody who looks at it like a play set, in my opinion.
And if everyone other than you and your dad have looked at the Capucci's structure and say it looks like a play set, they're just wrong.
Well, no one's ever said that to me except for the guy from the city who told those guys to get permission from us because he didn't think we would give him permission.
I'm gonna show you the petition that was signed by neighbors of the Capucci's on June 2nd, 2004. Can you identify one person on this list who was threatened?
No, I cannot.
You would all agree that they are neighbors of the Capucci's?
I would agree with that, although I think that's a very incomplete list based on what we talked about previously.
These are immediate neighbors of the Capucci's, are they not?
Well, as I said, my definition of immediate neighbors is anyone that can see that has a house looking in, and there's a lot more than 6 names for those houses. There's probably 25 or 30.
You're saying that,
So I don't see a majority of people supporting this based on what you're asking me.
I'm having a hard time picturing this, why don't you help me?
Okay.
How can you have a backyard?
Okay, in
you
Wyndham
use a
Hills,
paper, you wanna
in
draw
Wyndham
it up?
Hills, there is a big strip of lots, and I'd be happy to draw it for you.
Go ahead.
This house is at the end of a strip of lots, so every house that is looking in along this whole thing, and there's probably, I'd have to guess, probably at least 20 houses, all of them can see that. And I'd be happy to draw it for you.
Sure, go ahead.
It's surrounded by streets on both sides, there's a strip of lots, I believe there's a lot on the corner where the Capucci's is, and there's other lots like this. Their lot is right here. So everybody that's going down here, everybody looking in, and all these lots on both sides, including the house on the other end here, can see this building.
Have you looked from each one of those lots to determine whether or not they could see the Capucci's?
Yes, I have.
You
And
can
all
see
those
it
lots
from
can
every
see it.
single one of those
Every
lots?
single one of those lots.
And now you say that.
Now, I'm 6'5", so I can see over anything, but
Okay,
you can see it.
and you're saying that's about 20 houses in that picture?
Yeah, and it's probably more, sir.
Do you know?
Well, I could pull out a plat and give you exactly how many there are, but it's certainly a hell of a lot more than 6, and I'd be willing to bet it's 3 or 4 times that amount.
And would you be willing to bet it's a lot less than 40?
Well, it's still at least 3 or 4 times as many as names as you have saying are in support of this. So,
You don't have any names to say they're against it.
well, as I said, those names are names that I didn't realize we had to bring to dare. We would have brought them, because we do have them. And as I said, we have someone that after being threatened really wants to be involved. So,
Wait till he answers the next question.
okay, I apologize. I'm not used to getting that question.
Can you tell me what damages you suffered as a result of the Capucci's having this place in, other than having some unknown person complain to you?
Besides having some person who I can name and in the future complain to me, I believe anytime someone doesn't follow the rules and doesn't get permission after they've built up a building, they put us in a situation where we have difficulty enforcing covenants that everybody seems to agree to when they move in. That's why those covenants are provided at every closing. So I believe it does harm our ability to maintain our covenants and restrictions, and the people that are complaining are the people that are following the rules, and these people are not.
Well, you just said you had West Wind and you don't have it anymore, correct?
No, well, Westwind 1, we've turned over the lots that are closed to their own association, and they can change those rules if they want to as homeowners.
When is,
In Wyndham Hills, in Westwind 2, we are still the association until all the building permits are secured and all the lots are closed.
and how many lots are still not closed on Wyndham Hills?
I believe most if not all of our closed, but I know not all the building permits have been issued. So until that's done, we won't turn the association over.
So pretty soon, this will be out of your hands and in the hands of the
Well,
owners?
it could be next year sometimes. It depends on when everybody builds their buildings. And in that case, we have to protect the property owners of people that are still building over there.
How many lots haven't been built on Wyndham Hills?
That's a number you'd have to get from Michael. I don't know. Several? Not very many. I just approved the plan last week.
Does size make a difference?
Well, size does make a difference, as well as how much physical space it occupies.
Okay. I'm gonna show
That's
you
why
a
a place that
photo.
seems smaller, because it doesn't occupy a lot of space. Like that, for example.
Doesn't that occupy as much space as?
Not in my opinion. Not as much physical space?
Yeah.
Well, you fill up a tub of water, and that thing's not gonna fill 1/10 of what that other building fills, because it doesn't have concrete sitting under it, and framing, and exterior walls and doors.
How much concrete is underneath the Capucci's place?
I'm not aware if there's any. They told me there was, but I'd have to visually verify that.
You don't even know if it has a foundation, do you?
No, they told me that it had a foundation. That's the only reason that we think it has one.
You don't know that for a fact though, correct?
Well, I'm going on hearsay based on your client, sure, but
Okay, here's a structure that was built in somebody's backyard. Is that not a building?
Well, you're representing that's in Westwind or Wyndham
That's-
Hills?
Wyndham Hills? Is that not a building?
well, first of all, that's a covenant violation, so it really doesn't matter what it is. That wouldn't be allowed.
Or you haven't,
It's an outbuilding that doesn't have siding or roof that matches the house.
you haven't required them to remove this, have you?
You are making me aware of it right now. So we will require them to remove it if they haven't already.
How about this structure here?
Well, that looks like a portable play structure. If it's not outside all the time, we maybe haven't seen it. That looks like something you could take apart. It looks like Lincoln logs or something. You could put it in the garage.
You don't know because you haven't seen it, correct?
That's correct. If a
It
neighbor
has a
calls,
roof.
we will act on it.
It has a roof, correct?
I would say that's a roof, and I'd also say that's a violation of our covenants.
But you haven't enforced it against them, correct? I'm gonna show you another.
I didn't answer the question. I haven't enforced that, but we also haven't been made aware of it.
I'm gonna show you another one. That's a castle, playset. Smaller in size, but with a roof. Is that permitted?
You're representing this?
Sir, I gotta tell you
just a
something,
second, just a
yes.
second. Are you representing
In
this as
Wyndham
in Wyndham Hills? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's just say for a fact it is in Wyndham Hills. That's a portable structure that can be put in the garage every night. It is not a permanent structure.
You don't know that it's ever been put in a garage, do you?
You don't know that it wasn't put in the garage.
I'm asking the question. You don't know that it's ever been put in the garage, do you?
No, I don't.
In fact, you don't even know if it's portable, do you?
No, I do. I'm aware of those. One of my neighbors has one of those.
No, see,
Yeah,
And
sure.
they do not keep it out in their yard.
By the way, can you go to that picture of that little doghouse looking thing with no siding on it there? I've been advised that one there,
Yeah,
Mr.
that's
Mandel,
why I'm-
that has been removed.
So, Attorney Lawton, you're testifying that you know
Well,
this
I'm
has
just,
been removed?
I just don't want you to go off on a blind alley on that, I've been told, and Mr. Yunker can explain, but he's not testifying anymore. But we've been
I was
advised.
not aware of that. If I was, it would not be there based on my actions.
You don't dispute that the Capucci's have an attached slide to the shed, do you?
No, I don't. They have the same thing on their playset that they also have in the yard.
Is it because they have two play sets that you're objecting to this?
No. But the notion that that's a playset is something that I do find objectionable.
So if the Capuchis put more windows in their structure so that you could see through it, then that make it acceptable?
No, when the Capuchis called me, I told them the only thing that we would approve is if it were up against the building and it matched the siding and roof color in the house. They said they were unwilling to do that. And I said, then we cannot allow that building.
When did you have that conversation?
It was previous to apparently them sending me an email that I never got with that building on it and us sending a letter out saying that we objected to it. It was directly after the building inspector had come out to see them. I know that because the reason they called me is because Dennis Allen told them to call me. That they needed permission from us.
You said that's not true.
Well, then that's going to be a matter of my word versus them, and I really don't have any reason to make this up. It's just it's a building that I had neighbors object to.
Neighbors that you can't name.
Excuse me?
Neighbors you can't name.
We've been through that, I'm gonna object.
We'd be willing to provide those names if I was aware they had to be there today. We would provide.
He's asked the question before, you answered it before. We'll deal with
Fair
it.
enough.
I'm gonna show you a playhouse with a roof located at 560 Normandy Court. Is that part of the Wyndham Hills?
That is in Westwood too, I believe.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Normandy is in
No,
Westwood.
Normandy Court is in Wyndham Hills. See, we have so many streets I get confused. That's in Wyndham Hills.
This is on page 6. I'm gonna show you a structure with a roof, walls that cannot be seen through, a window, and that projects over a fence. Are you aware of that structure?
No, I am not.
You asked that, so you haven't asked them to remove it.
I will this afternoon.
You will do that
Oh,
this
yes.
afternoon.
In fact, they bought that house they bought it, that was my listing. If I was aware of it, I can assure you that house wouldn't be there.
Thank you, Mr. McDowell, for calling that to our attention.
Yeah, thank you.
You're gonna have a lot of lawsuits going. Plenty of work for you.
Absolutely.
This is good.
It's in Blues though, it's in the realm.
Yeah. Now, I'm gonna show you a shed under the deck of Aaron's shower at 536 Berwick, and ask if they have permission to build that deck, the enclosed area under their deck, the shed.
No, and quite frankly, we wouldn't have seen it unless you pointed it out. I mean, I'm not getting out of my car and capping behind that people's yards. You know, I mean, there's no way we could have seen that.
It's
That is
6'5".
a violation of our covenants.
6'5", you already told me you can see from one end every structure in the neighborhood.
No, that's not what I said. I said the strip of lots where the house in question is, not this neighborhood. Don't put words in my mouth, sir. I don't appreciate
He was
that.
referring to a
I'm
particular
referring
block.
to what you said earlier. That's
Well,
all.
you're misquoting me.
That's
Is this in violation of the covenants?
That is. That lattice work on the fence is not, but that is.
And are you gonna tell them they have to?
Yes, we will. They will be
Okay.
receiving a letter.
All right.
You pointed out 3. Thanks for looking out for us.
Everybody could just speak one at a time, because somebody actually has to transcribe this.
Okay, I apologize.
Separate, so.
Now, I'm gonna show you a lattice enclosing deck for the cats is at 545 Norman Court. Is that permitted under the deed restrictions?
A lattice on the bottom of the deck? Yeah, it would be.
I thought it had to get prior approval.
Well, the deck has already been approved, or it wouldn't be there.
If the lattice wasn't.
Well, I mean, I'm taking a look at it, and typically people have asked us for that, so I have approved some.
You haven't approved this one yet.
I'm not aware if I have or not. I'm not aware if Mike has or not.
You're not gonna send them a letter?
We'll have to look at that one. We may.
Now, you also have restrictions against parking trailers, boats, and other,
That's correct.
and I'm gonna show you, have you enforced it against these people?
Yes, we have. But people can leave those out overnight. You could have taken that picture, and they could have had it in the driveway for a few hours.
So you don't know that that's true.
Well, you don't either, apparently.
I do.
Well,
Are you, just a second, are you representing that was there for some
I'm
extended period of
representing
time?
that everything in here has been there for a substantial period of time without being enforced.
well, I know a number of those things are things that Mike handles. He tends to handle more than Wyndham Mills stuff. Those people very likely have been called. If they're not responding, usually the city gets called after that. So those things may very well happen.
you aware that Corey Williams believes that the Capucci's playset is the coolest playset in the subdivision?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Who's Corey Williams?
Is that a homeowner, or is that,
Yes, he's a homeowner, 328 Huntsville Ridge.
is this one of the 6 names you have on that list? No?
These are people that have other play structures that didn't get permission from the You know, Donald Malasek, 1809 Corinth.
No, I don't.
You're aware that he believes that there are no restrictions on play sets and that the playhouse of the Capucci's is not in violation of the covenants.
That doesn't, I don't know how to answer that, because you're asking me to speculate on what I think is someone else's opinion, and I have covenants that I have to look at to enforce. I don't really care what other people's opinion is about the subject, quite frankly.
How about Jeremy Holt, 400 Henderson Ridge?
I know Jeremy.
Are you aware that he thinks that the Capucci's play structure is cool, and if Ray wanted a retirement community, he should have done that?
Well, you know, unless you're pushing buttons, that's also the same sort of letter you just showed me. Because why else would you bring that up? I mean, that's an insulting letter, you know. We have probably one of the #1 subdivisions in the state of Wisconsin. And if we don't catch 2 or 3 people, that doesn't mean we're not gonna, and it doesn't mean those neighbors aren't gonna complain. You know, you're asking me to speculate on someone else's opinion, which is not relevant here.
If these people believe that it adds value to the neighborhood, that the structures are sightly, not unsightly.
Well, then they disagree with me, and I'm a real estate professional.
It's argumentative now.
Yes.
Let's
What
move
makes,
on.
what makes your opinion on unsightliness any more valuable than the people that live in the neighborhood?
My opinion is more valuable because I approve a lot of houses over there, and I think our track record speaks for itself. That's not something you can quantify.
So you think you have better taste than the people that want houses for in terms of what's sightly and unsightly?
I'm not gonna answer that question, because you're asking me to speculate.
Well, you've made the statement that this play structure is unsightly. And if everybody but one neighbor who you can't name thinks it is in fact quite sightly and quite nice, what do you base that statement on?
Well, you keep saying we can't name this person, although we're gonna be providing the name for you, so I'll argue that point.
You can't name it. You already told me you can't.
Well,
We've been through that
We've
before.
been through that. If you'd have asked us for the names, we'd have brought them, sir.
I'm just asking you to name the person who complained and you said you don't have that information.
No, I don't.
If I remember.
But even if no one complained, this is a building that's in violation of the restrictions,
The
sir.
question was, dealing with your view of tractor facilities. Go back to that or not? Someone we got off in the games again.
No,
Okay, so no question pending?
there was a question pending. and it was
We'd
answered.
refer- we'd
Okay,
refer to
all
that.
right.
Yeah, I
He
have
thinks
answered.
it's answered.
Are any of the play sets in the neighborhood as tall as the Capucci's?
What neighborhood? William Hills?
You're asking me to visually verify something or measure it, and I can't do that for you.
You're not aware of any that are as high or you just don't know?
I just don't know. There might be. There might not be.
As part of your affidavit, this action, you indicated that you're being irreparably harmed. Recall making that statement?
Yes, I do. I still agree that that's the case.
How you believe you're being irreparably harmed?
Well, failure to be able to enforce covenants that have been long-standing, and we have a track record of, hurts our ability to market lots in ours and for future subdivisions. And this is a game I'm going to be playing for a long time.
Well, you've already marketed and sold every lot in the subdivision.
Well, I haven't marketed every lot in every subdivision I sold, and quite frankly, Wyndham Hills homeowners deserve the same respect that people have got when they move into the first phase. They are going to get us enforcing the covenants.
The plaintiff in this action is Wyndham Hills LLC, correct?
That's correct.
It's not any other subdivision you may develop or sell in the future, correct?
No.
My question to you is how are you being irreparably harmed at Woodland Hills if every single lot has been sold?
Okay, well, not every single lot has been sold and built on. Most of the houses that are being built there are spec houses. If there's a notion that rules aren't being followed, it might affect the marketability. And I think it very well will.
And you just went over about 10 places where the rules aren't being followed and you're gonna contact. And that has
Just,
affected-
I'm gonna object. I don't
There's
think
500
the record
houses in that
shows-
subdivision.
I don't think the record shows 10 violations. Go ahead. Answer.
Could you rephrase your question?
At this time, can you establish any harm or injury to Wyndham Hills LLC as a result of this?
Yes, the ability to enforce in covenants is paramount to what we do. It's important. And the homeowners that live there that follow the rules find those rules very important. It does harm us.
I'm asking, how have you been harmed specifically?
Well, this is something, how I've been harmed specifically.
How has Wyndham
Haven't been
Hills
harmed, haven't been
LLC
harmed yet, but we haven't won this case yet either.
Wyndham Hills has not been harmed yet, correct?
It's being harmed right now because we have to spend money to enforce our covenants that were broken. We're being harmed because we're paying to talk to you and talk to Mike.
So you're
Two
claiming
moments.
the only damage and injury you have is the
No.
payment of your.
No,
He's
I'm not
already
saying that.
answered that. He's already answered that.
Enforcement of
and
covenants
explained
has a value that you cannot put a number on, but it's something that is ongoing and it will go from Yunker development to the next development we do, to the next development we do.
We're talking
That's just-
only about Wyndham Hills. We're
Well,
not talking about any
well,
other.
Even if it's
That's-
just Wyndham Hills, it doesn't matter.
Gentlemen,
That's your
gentlemen,
definition.
Please, one at a time.
Are we answering this by your definition or by my
No,
definition?
we're answering this by the use of the English language and not your attorney butting in out of place like it shouldn't be, confusing and coaching you on how to answer questions. This is a statement you made in your affidavit under
Okay, please
oath
rephrase the question.
that Wyndham Hills is being irreparably harmed.
Yes,
They
I
asked
have
you
said so.
Specifically.
And I said yes, and I'm giving you specific examples.
You said it's being harmed because other developments that you may develop
That's
in
not,
the future.
that is one of the things I answered. The other thing I answered was harming Wyndham Hills, because there are still people that haven't built or sold their buildings that they're gonna be building on lots they purchased from us.
You would agree that's speculative, wouldn't you? That you don't know.
I
that
don't think that's speculative.
Are you aware of a single person who has told you they will not build there or they will not buy there because the Capuchis have this place in it right now? Yes or no?
No.
And you've already agreed that the property values are going up.
Is that a question? I'm gonna object.
It isn't a question.
I can't prove that. I can't prove that, so you're asking me to speak to something I can't prove. The bottom could drop out of the real estate market this afternoon and nothing would go up in value.
That would have no relation to the Capuchis place in Wyndham. That would have
It
to-
might help some of their neighbors, it might hurt some of their neighbors trying to resell if they see if someone's not following the rules and this is that kind of subdivision. That's why we're here.
That's speculative. You don't-
I don't think that's speculative. I really don't.
Did you respond to the email sent on July 10th by Kim Capucci asking for clarification and an explanation as to how they were violating the covenants?
No, I did not, and the reason for that is I never received it. I actually got a copy of that my dad had printed up. My no for them came in the response of a voice message. I basically had talked to them on the phone. I said, I don't think we're going to approve it, but I'll go out and look at it and make sure. They weren't home. I called and left a message saying, under no circumstances would we approve that outbuilding.
On August 20th, your dad sent them a letter stating that the building must be removed, correct?
That's correct.
On August 21st, they sent a letter to your dad with a copy of the email,
That's correct. That's when I saw it.
and nobody ever responded to that, did they?
Just a second, is it to the email or to the August 21st?
August 21st, letter.
They said, I believe the response was the letter that Mike drew up that we sent to him. The response was, no, they can't do this. And They wouldn't have never built the building if they'd asked permission in the first place, because they would have been told no.
You're referring to a letter that was sent over a month later.
No, that's not what I'm referring to. I'm just saying they never talked to anybody until they already had the building up, and now they're saying, oh, we didn't know there was rules, we didn't want to make any trouble. But here we are talking to you. So, that's not the way it worked out.
I have no further questions.